Dear all participants, good morning and hope you're all doing well. I'm Vignesh Rajmani Ratnam, Assistant Manager for Technical and Training in IWMA and your host for the day. On behalf of our IWMA office bearers, executive members, speakers, and the senior manager, I welcome you all for IWMA 13th webinar session on e-waste and impact on environment. Dear all participants, now I welcome our chairman, Mr. K. Bhaskaran, to give us a welcome address. Mr. K. Bhaskaran has served as an executive member and presently the chairman of IWMA. He is also holding the position of secretary in Kakalur Industrial Estate Manufacturing Association and also A6 District Chairman for E-Waste Management in Lions Club. Our chairman is the CEO of Aarti Industries, an electroplating unit located in Ambattur, Kakalur and Padapai. Now I welcome our chairman on behalf of all the participants and the speaker. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Vignesh. Morning to you all. On behalf of IWMA, I welcome you all for this 12th webinar session during the COVID time. We have been doing this program for almost 2.5 months. Today's program is actually about e-waste. I also welcome Mr. Dinesh, Business Director at TESAM. Welcome you, sir. I also welcome Mr. Ethirajan, Public Relation Officer, TESAM, and our Joint Secretary, Mr. Thirinjanam, sir, as well as our PC members from IWMA, and of course, office staffs, Vignesh and Senior Manager, Mr. Saravanan, and other teams from IWMA. Apart from IWMA, we have various participants. I welcome you all for this wonderful session, because without you it is not possible. Still you are I appreciate, because see, whenever we call for a program for environment related activities, so you have been giving very good response. In fact, yesterday we got up to yesterday, I think 150 participant has been registered so far. Of course, 50 or 70 they have joined as of now. So I welcome you all for this wonderful session. And about IWMA, we have been doing this program in-house also for this kind of training programs. Because of this COVID only, we have started going through webinars, and we have in-house facility for 35 seats. There we have called various team from IIT or CLRI or from all over India. We have called all scientists also for taking the classes, SICRI. So they will be sharing one-day training actually. So now we have changed to one-day training to 2 hours actually. So maybe once this COVID is over, maybe we will start again in-house in full flesh. Maybe once in 15 days we are planning to do that. And see, IWMA started with guidance of Tamil Nadu Supreme Court order and Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, and in 1999, and thanks to Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board and Supreme Court, as well as SIPCOT, because SIPCOT has given a 27 acres to at Gumudi initially. That is our site actually. That was run by our TNWML. He is our service provider. So recently also we got another 32 acres from SIPCOT for expansion purpose, because that 27 acres has been completed. So we are going for second level. Maybe another 6 to 7 months it will come. Apart from this Gumudi, we are also starting in Bargur to cover up the Salem and Hosur surrounding areas. So that will also take care of particular areas, because we are bifurcating in 3 in Tamil Nadu. So maybe Madurai also we have, but that is not our own site actually, but TNWML is handling that, Tamil Nadu Waste Management. But we are controlling them. We are we are doing audit and all. We are monitoring them. Apart from IIT matters, we are also monitoring them. So for Madurai region, they are taking care of it. So all 2 places they are only for landfill sites. But in this Gumudi-Pundi, we have a landfill as well as incineration facilities, scientific landfill and incineration facilities there. In fact, recently, Tamil Nadu government has approved as biomedical waste also. They are doing it in Gumudi-Pundi actually. So that is our activities, major activities. And apart from this, we are creating awareness among the students, help of IIT Madras. I think 9 years we have been doing this. Young Environment Scientist Award we are giving to the students. So what the student will do, no? See, students, they have to come with environment related projects, live projects. It is not a project, it's a live project, because they have to come and present to the scientist or whoever is the judge panel as a live. It is not like they Google it and search, they will just present it. It has to be in the live manner. Any kind of environment related, like even maybe today we are going to cover e-waste also. No, even e-waste also, they something. But this TESAM is doing a very good job actually. In fact, not like that, because students level they are doing it. So that is a 6 months program. This year, badly we have stopped it actually. And because students going and presenting in the IIT, it's a very big thing. In fact, 10 years back, I went to IIT. That I was amazed by seeing the IIT Madras. Like that, a lot of students, 450, 500 students from Chennai, in and around Chennai students are coming there, presenting their innovative ideas in environment. So that is our one program. Another program we have, Enviro program is also there. That is also from students 6th to 12th again. So 450 schools will come. So there are 450 students, but here it is 450 schools. See this, that Enviro program, we have tied up with the Science Olympia Foundation. Mrs. Maladi Sridharan is handling that. So madam, we have to thank madam, because she has been doing with us for this wonderful program for coordinating 450 schools from the various part of Chennai. Same, that even 5th, 6th students, they present like a lot of innovative ideas. It is very amazing. That is to promote environment only actually. We are creating awareness among the students for environment. So that is the program we are conducting for Enviro programs. Even some of the program now it has moved to Chennai, outside Chennai also. Like last year we did a young environmental scientist program, but Coimbatore, thanks to PSG Tech College, because they are given a platform to perform the students from in the surrounding of Coimbatore. Even recently also we are planning to do that for next year, next year for Madurai and all. So Madurai Kamarajar University willing to take this kind of activities. In fact, we have tied up with, we have signed a MOU last month for Madurai Kamarajar University. Last year we have started one course also. IWMA and Madurai Kamarajar University is doing an electroplating. It is a diploma course, 1-year diploma course. Last year 25 students have been selected and they were admitted, and 25 has been placed. Maybe another 2 years also they got opportunities, employment opportunities. So next 2 years, one of the big company, we can say Breaks India, who is also our one of member. So they are willing to take next 2 years students for this diploma course. So that kind of reach is there. And apart from this, like we have tied up with the Sri Ramachandra University. We are planning to do for academia meet, industry and academia meet. When they are also starting MBA in waste management actually. So that has been recently launched 3 months back. So MBA in waste management. This year they are starting. So lot of environment related studies are coming up, and from students also they are giving very good response. In fact, even Ramachandra, SRM also they have started. Even we are part of it actually. Even that time TESAM also came there. They put some stall also there, over there. So this is our programs one by one. We have lined up a lot of programs. Even Ministry of Human Resource Development, IWMA has contact with them. So we are doing programs throughout Tamil Nadu. All the colleges, they are created one group. So all name it, any university or whatever throughout Tamil Nadu. So in that club, actually promoting environment only. So everything is environment related. In fact, more of the college professors, they are asking how to dispose our e-waste. In fact, some of the college have forwarded the details to today's program. They are very much interested because they are going to form a club in their colleges, maybe in the university level or college level, something like that. So that is going to happen, and maybe this year. Because of the COVID, maybe it will take some time, but it will happen because thanks to our MHRD, Mr. Naveen, senior faculty, he is only coordinating the whole thing actually. Apart from this, this today's program, excellent program. Even I know this TESAM. We have been working with them a lot actually. Thank you, sir. Once again, I welcome you for this wonderful session. Thank you, Vignesh.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for welcoming our speakers and attendees, sir. Without any further ado, we will start our session for the day with the two expert speakers in the e-waste management. Mr. R. Dinesh, Executive Director of TESAM India Private Limited. As a chemical engineer with 17 plus years of experience in e-waste recycling and involved in recovery of precious metals from the e-waste. This covers with 11 plus years of experience in the field of e-waste recycling in abroad countries like Singapore and Malaysia. For the past 6 years, he has been in India working with the TESAM India Recycling. He has been the part of the committee to discuss the e-waste rules, draft amendments by the various statutories and other government bodies. I welcome you for the session, sir. And our co-speaker of the day is Mr. Ethraj, Public Relation Officer of TESAM India Private Limited. Mr. Ethraj did his BA Economics and MA Sociology and started his career as a social worker and traditional and cultural-based activities. Last 25 years, he had traveled all over South India for cultural ethics and morality service with 18 years of experience in the research, market research, data collection, verification, testing, product test, agency coordination, and operation liaison. Presently, Mr. Ethraj is working as a public relation officer in TESAM India for saving the environment by spreading the awareness about e-waste management for government and private bodies, NGO, schools, and educational institutions. It's a great pleasure to have you both for our webinar session, sir. And I'll take over kindly take over the session, sir.
Thank you, Vignesh. Very good morning to all IWMA members and participants of this webinar. Thank you, Mr. Bhaskaran. It's very good to have a session on e-waste and its impacts on environment. Even in this pandemic situation, I'm very happy that IWMA is conducting so many webinars related to plastic waste, electronic waste, and other solid waste. We are very happy to be a part of this. I don't want to waste much time. Maybe I'll go to the presentation directly. I'm sharing the screen for this. Is this visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, today's topic is electronic waste and impacts on environment. Okay, what is electronic waste? Electronic waste or e-waste is a term for electronic products that have become unwanted, non-working, or obsolete, and have essentially reached end of their useful life. So today we are surrounded with enormous amounts of potential e-waste like mobile phones, laptops, desktops, refrigerators, TV, printers, projectors, speakers, all over us, which is all potential e-waste coming soon. So this waste is all very much hazardous and toxic when it is being processed very traditional way or if it is processed in a very unscientific way. That's where the impacts come into the picture. So that's what we're going to see in today's session of electronic waste and its impacts on the environment. So until 2011 in India, we didn't have electronic waste management rules. It was all covered under hazardous waste rules. In 2011, electronic waste management rules came into picture in India. And in 2016, they've amended it further with targets for EPR, that is extended producer responsibility, came into picture also. So as per the electronic waste management rules 2011 and 16, these are the schedule 1, which states what are the categories of electrical and electronic waste that is covered under these rules. So this covers, as what I said, computers, laptops, notebooks, printers, cartridges, phones, mobile phones, as well as consumer electrical and electronics like television sets, if it is LCD or LED, refrigerator, washing machines, air conditioners, and also the air conditioner units like air conditioning that we use in our facilities or homes. So where do we stand currently? India is, as per the Global E-Waste Monitoring Report 2017, states that India is generating about 2 million tons of electronic waste annually. And we are the 5th among the e-waste producing countries after US, China, Japan, and Germany. So if you take overall e-waste, it's only about 2% of the overall solid waste generated in the country. But this e-waste contains toxic materials which contaminates land, water, and air if it is not treated properly. In this 2 million tons, we have only about 95% of India's e-waste is being recycled by informal sectors. That means only 5% is being treated with the formal recyclers. That is, recyclers with scientific methods to treat this electronic waste. So, as per June 2019, the CPCB website, it states that about 312 recyclers are there currently with about 800 tons of 800,000 tons of e-waste processing capacity. So this is only about 40% of what is being generated. That is the capacity of electronic waste recyclers that we have in India currently. Even this 40% of electronic waste is not being properly received by these electronic waste recyclers or dismantlers. This 312 includes dismantlers as well as recyclers. So these people, we are not even receiving this 800,000 metric tons for recycling because most of the materials are getting processed or treated in an informal way still in India. And hundreds and thousands of people, mostly child laborers, are involved in processing this electronic waste in a very informal way for recovering of metals as well as any precious metals present in that. So this is a very general composition of e-waste on the categories, like 42% of this electronics that we are using in India as well as in the world is considered to be large household appliances like TV, refrigerators, washing machines, and TVs. So in this consumer electronics is coming to about 14%. And IT communication technology is coming to about 34%. This includes our computers, monitors, desktops, projectors, speakers, all that we use for IT communications. And 10% comes to the other this thing. See, if you take about 2 decades back in India, we didn't have a worry about e-waste because the usage of electronics are very, very less in India. But today, if you see, each and everyone is having at least 2 to 3 mobile phones. Everyone is having at least 2 to 3 air conditioner units at their home. We are using laptops, we are using desktops, we are using all other gadgets. Everything has become smart nowadays. We have a smartphone, we have a smart watch, we have a smart TV. Everything is becoming smart, and we couldn't stop the growth of this technology. The growth of technology is getting keep on increasing day by day. And the features that is the one which makes us to replace this electronics very seldom. That is like, if you have a phone about 15, 20 years back, you won't be replacing it that soon. Like Nokia 3310 or any other brand for that matter, we were using it for a very long time. But nowadays, the futures keeps changing. So whatever future that you have today, it's changing tomorrow. So the mobile phones usage is also increasing, and people are keep on replacing their mobile phones because of the futures, as well as other TV, as well as any other electronic products for that matter. So very often, it is very cheaper to buy new ones rather than to repair the old ones. That is what makes electronic waste increasing in India as well as in other countries also. So what is the problem because of this? We have two issues on this. This dangerously increases in mining for procurement of materials needed for the production of this new gadgets. That means the more and more you use the electronics, that means we need to mine more and more to recover these materials from the earth and then to produce these new gadgets. This increases the mining. And one more thing is large amounts of this electronics is being sent to the landfill, which is leaking in and creating toxicity in the land, air, as well as water. This is a general example of a computer, personal computer. We have given here what are the harmful materials used in this consumer electronics. In this, if you see, almost 14% of this is aluminum, and we have about 23% of plastics, we have 20% of ferrous, and we have 26% of silica. All this can be recycled. The only problem that you have is on that 17%, which contains copper, zinc, mercury, and cadmium. So these materials are considered as a heavy metals. To process these heavy metals, you need good process technology, scientific methods to recover this copper, zinc, mercury, and this cadmium and other heavy metals will be treated and then sent for a proper disposal. In overall heavy metals, if you say, in e-waste accounts for 70% of the overall toxic waste currently found in landfills, as per a study. Most of these materials are found to be carcinogenic. Carcinogenic may cause cancer over the time. Some of these are already found in our drinking water, just in small amount to cause any damage according to the drinking water standards. What happens is once this e-waste is being treated, if it is not properly disposed, it gets into the landfill sites, and it gets disposed, and it seeps into the water body. And this water body, if it is consumed by humans as well as animals, and it creates a lot of internal nervous problems as well as lung and liver damages also. So how does this e-waste end up is the question. The problem is India, we already have a very good set of network systems to collect this electronic waste from the consumer market. Like for example, in India, for the last almost 30, 40 years back also, we had a very good system. Like even today, a kabadi wala comes and then picks up waste paper as well as your old refrigerators, your TVs for a very nominal price, and then he takes it over. But consumers have to be aware where this e-waste is going to end up. So consumers must be more aware, like what Mr. Bhaskaran was saying. We need to give more awareness to the students as well as to the community and people on where this e-waste is being sent to, right? It's not wrong that a kabadiwala is taking up the material and then recycling it. The problem is the kabadiwala takes it to his shop, he dismantles it, and then he takes out the copper, plastics, iron, and all the valuable materials. The non-valuable materials like the sponge, the puff that is inside the refrigerator, the leaded glass that is inside the CRT TV, and then other hazardous waste that got no value is being dumped to the general waste. This general waste is again collected by municipalities and other local corporations, and then it is being transported to the landfill sites, whereby this gets into the landfill sites, and then the toxic elements and chemicals present in these toxic materials gets directly incubated into the land. And then when it gets hot, it also contaminates the air. And if it rains or if it gets into the water stream, then it goes into the water stream also. So this contains all this, as I said earlier, all this lead, cadmium, beryllium, and all this materials gets into the water stream as well as air stream. So this informal non-scientific treatments of e-waste material generates this process residues, which never gets recycled and are simply dumped in open fields. This is the one that we are seeing along the river banks, ponds, wetlands, whereby they take out all the valuable items and then all this non-valuable items are being dumped or thrown away. This indiscriminate dumping has exacerbated contamination of drinking water sources and sediments, which is consumed by animals and humans. This hazardous effect of e-waste can even find its way into the mother's milk. That's what the study says. So this should be taken care of. So each and every consumer as well as a citizen has to make sure where this e-waste is going and where it is going to be ended up. So improper disposal of this electric waste, like burning them, pollutes the air also. For example, the people who take this informal sectors, they take this cables and all those things, and they wanted to get the copper very fast. So what they do is they generally burn it up in the open air, which causes a lot of pollution. And this creates air pollution as well as we're even creating problems in the ozone layer also. These are some of the examples on how it affects the human body. So these are the items that are present in plastics like beryllium, barium, lead, mercury, cadmium, and phosphorus, which directly have impacts to the human when it is being consumed through water or if it is being consumed through air. If you inhale that air, you are getting all these problems in your body, like kidney, bones, your muscles, brain swelling, brain, kidney, cancers. So all these things are keep on happening. So what can we do to prevent this? If it is a, so far what we have seen is all the informal sectors, how they treat it and what are the issues that we are getting in. If you properly send it to a proper recycler, what they do is they collect it and then they sort it into categories like metals, plastics, and electrical electronics. All those things get sorted first, and then it is being processed based on the category. So plastics will be finally segregated, and then it gets into inside plastics. We have hundreds of plastics, and again, I'm saying to you, we can eliminate plastics, but we cannot eliminate electronic waste because the reason is you can be plastic free, but it cannot be electronics free because today everything is we need gadgets for all the things, electronic gadgets. Without electronic gadgets, we cannot even stay for 2 days, right? So these things are being properly sorted and then it is being treated in a proper equipment. So now we are going to see some of the equipments that what we do, like electronic waste gets into the proper recyclers facility. It gets sorted into pre-process, like the materials like rubber, plastic, and power supply board, as well as the power boards get separated into metals and all those categories. And then the materials that needs further processing goes for the mechanical process. Like you have a proper crushing system to crush these materials instead of crushing it in an open yard or in an open thing. And all this mechanical process equipments as well as machineries that we have, you could have seen that we have a closed loop system. That means everything is, you can see on the top, you can have that scrubber systems. We have a wet scrubbers, we have also dry scrubbers. So this gets into the scrubber system, any dust that is emitting because of this crushing process, and that fumes are captured, and then it goes through a cyclone separator as well as a bag house to collect all these fumes, and then it goes through a chimney. So this chimney is, again, we are having a online tracking sensor, which directly monitors, pollution control board is directly monitoring this chimney outlet. That means whatever the PM2 or particulate matters and other chemicals that is being fumes that is being treated out, it will be monitored. We have a standard for that, air pollution standard, and based on that, it has to be given out. So all this like hammer mills, and we use different type of machines. Like for example, this one, what you're seeing is a cable crushing machine. Instead of burning the cables, if you're sending it to a proper recycler or a dismantler or whoever treats this material, they have to send it through a proper cable crushing machine, whereby it cuts it, and then the copper as well as the plastic will be properly removed. And it's 100% you can recycle those things. So all this comes out, and the main category in this electronic waste is the electronic boards, the printed circuit boards. That's what we say, printed circuit boards. So this is the one which is more hazardous, because when people try to burn these boards and then take out the copper as well as the precious metals, that's where the value is. And people generally try to burn it and then take the value quickly, because they don't need to have any proper treatment for that, like wastewater or the treatment process. But whereas if you are sending it to a proper recycler, what happens is these boards gets into the proper mechanical process like what you saw earlier, and then after that it goes through a chemical process, whereby we use chemicals, hydrometallurgy. In India we are using only hydrometallurgy, we don't have pyrometallurgy here. In European countries they're using pyrometallurgy, whereby they put all the boards inside a smelting kiln and then they burn all the things, melt it into metals. But in India we're using hydrometallurgy. That means we use acids and alkalines to wash and leach these metals, precious metals basically, as well as copper. So this type of equipments are used to recover precious metals as well as basic metals like copper also will be recovered using this this technology. So to use all this chemical process as well as mechanical process, you have to use a lot of pollution control equipments. For example, you have scrubber systems. It's a dry scrubber, like I said, cyclone separator followed by a baghouse. Then you have wet scrubbers. On the top left-hand side, you are seeing is a 3-stage wet scrubber. This is used for processing, chemical processing. So what happens is the fumes that is generated when treating these metals are observed, and then using a blower, we collect all these fumes, and it gets treated in this 3 stages of wet scrubber, whereby this fume is getting into, like for example, NO2 and SO2, whatever is being emitted during this process, it all gets treated, and then it again dissipates into nitrogen and oxygen, which is free to be released to the environment. Similarly, the water, the spent chemicals, as well as the spent alkalis that is being used in this process are being treated in a wastewater treatment plant. We have a effluent treatment plant, and our facility is a 100% zero discharge facility. That means any water or any chemical that is being used will be treated, and then again that water will be again used for the same chemical process itself. So this is what we call it as an environmental friendly technology as well as scientific technology. What I'm saying is, so the evaporator systems as well as your scrubber systems and all these things. So when we calculate the costing, it comes to almost 70% of the cost for treating this electronic boards and printed circuit boards is coming to this pollution control equipments itself. Only 30% is for the chemicals used in that and the labor used for that. So this is where the difference comes in. So when you're spending 70% of the cost towards this pollution control equipment, that's where the cost portion comes in. So that's a reason also why formal recyclers are not getting the materials. Because of this cost involved, they couldn't bid higher values to take these materials. So these are some of the other categories, like how it is being separated and then smelted, and then it again goes into the raw material format. So because of creating this raw material cycle again, what we are doing is we are trying to save the earth by mining. For example, you need to mine about 2 tons of mining is required for getting about 2 tons of gold. So if you are recycling these materials and producing, recovering back the used gold as well as the copper in a proper treated way, we are saving this mining. So this saves the earth, and thereby we also save the natural resources for our future. So there is also thermocol, carton boxes, cartridges. Cartridges have a lot of toner powders, which is very, very dangerous, because toner powders, what happens is this is very much used in even homes, like toner cartridges. We generally refill the cartridge and then we use it to the maximum, and then once it gets broken or damaged, then what we do is we generally throw it to a normal general bin. So what happens to this toner cartridges is, in this toner cartridges, the only valuable item is the plastic on the top. So what a kabadi wala or any rack picker will do is, they will collect this, break it and then take out the plastic, and then he will just leave it. So the powder that is very flammable as well as hazardous is being just thrown in the general waste itself. This powder gets into the general waste, and as I said, it collected by municipalities, corporations, again ends up in the burning site or landfills, whereby it gets into the land. So this is where the problem comes in. Like even currently, we don't have a proper treatment system for tube lights in India. Actually, tube lights are one of the major electronic waste, because the problem is in tube lights is we have a mercury in vapor form as well as phosphorus, which we don't have a proper system to collect this tube lights from consumers and then properly treat it in the facility. So these are some of the mechanical processes that a proper recycler is supposed to have to treat it without affecting the environment. So from our side as a citizen as well as a individual, what we can do is we should be aware that everything that you throw out has an impact, and we should learn to divert this waste to a proper programs offered. Like for example, now because of this EPR, extended producer responsibility programs, every customer, every producers, they're having a lot of collection centers, and they're having advertising in websites as well as in their retail shops on take back systems as well as take back programs. So anyone that who are trying to buy a new washing machine or a refrigerator or a TV for that matter, they can go to the retail shops, they can return back the old TV or a washing machine there, and then they can collect the new washing machine, so that these materials are being collected through the take back system, and then the producers are returning back to the recyclers for recycling. So in this way, we can try to avoid the contamination of the land and this thing. So we should also increase the awareness about these problems before they become a bigger threat, like what our IWMA and CAA and others are also trying to do. And we are also creating a lot of awareness through programs to schools, colleges, as well as to the corporate companies on how this e-waste is and how it can be properly treated, and what are the ways to minimize the e-waste being dumped to the general waste or to the local properties. So there is one more advantage in this new rules. In 2016, when this implementation guidelines came for 2016 rules, what happened is they created this extended producer responsibility came into picture. And now a lot of informal sectors, they're collecting this TV, refrigerators, washing machines, and then they are sending it to the proper recycler, because they're getting paid also now because of this program. So I very much appreciate this for the MOEF as well as CPCB for enforcing and making this very much lively in India, because I've seen countries like Malaysia, Singapore, I've worked there also. Even though they had the electronic waste rules in 1974 and 1969, 1974 was Malaysia, they got the Environmental Protection Act, but still they haven't come back with this EPR programs yet. Even those countries, they are still, they couldn't implement this EPR programs in their country. The reason because of various reasons may be there, but in India, our government is very strong, and then they said that it has to be properly taken and it has to be treated. That's a very strong move that Indian government has taken, that to MOEF and CPCB. Hats off to them to bring these rules in 2016 and then implement this EPR regulations into the place. So what happens through this is all the producers, they have to take back the materials, whatever they sold. They have a shelf life for each and every product. And once the shelf life is over, then they have to take back 10% or 15% of those materials that they sold 10 years or 15 years back. And they have to properly treat it to give it to a recycler for treatment. So in this way, what happens is all these kabadis who are collecting it from the households, consumers, and all these places, they're trying to collect, and they're collecting more, and then they're also sending it to a proper PROs or recyclers for recycling this material, so that this avoids they carrying out this informal activity and creating hazards to the environment. So now it has been slowly, the awareness is coming up, and people are giving it to the proper channels to properly this thing. And we also have a lot of collection centers. If you go to any website of these producers, I mean, all the producers are doing a very good job in terms of creating awareness. So if you want to dispose any of your waste, you can get into their website, and then you can see the number of collection centers also. Each and every state, they have few collection centers, and you can drop your waste into the collection center. The only thing what we need in India now currently is the mindset of the people have to change. The mindset of the people have to change in the sense like you should not be expecting more value for the electronic waste for recycling. So what we have to see is, we have to see whether this has been properly recycled and it has been good for the future of our environment as well as for our future generations. So if you are seeing in that way, we can dispose this e-waste in a very proper way, and it can be good for the environment as well as for the humans. So disposing of e-waste properly, make sure it's being processed in our own country safely. So these are some of the awareness programs, collections and awareness that we are doing it in schools. School children are getting, they are trying to, they get this information very fast. It gets translated to them very easily. And they are also going and then implementing this e-waste proper disposal to their parents as well as to their neighbors also. And we are also collecting some e-waste materials from the schools as well as colleges. So these are some of the events and pictures. This is jointly done with the IWMA as well as with CII, Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board and CPCB, with the help of our clients and producers, basically. So pretty much that's it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, then maybe I can